All right, folks, it's True Crime Tuesday. We're going to talk about a real, actual case, a documented crime. Former former sheriff's deputy Kendra Drama is going to take you from beginning to middle to end in that order and no other. We're going to tell you the story about the Amato family murders. It's a sad one, but it's an interesting case. We're going to have lots to say about it. Can't wait to do the show. Go ahead and start the show, Kendra. True Crime Tuesday. I'm John. I'm an active 911 dispatch in the field. This is Kendra. We're here to talk to you about true crime tonight. I'm here with my ex-wife, Kendra. We do the show because I'm court ordered to do it. Folks, we were going to talk about the Amato family murders by their son, Grant Amato. It's a truly heartbreaking and captivating story beyond comparison.
It's a town called Chileota, which is a Native American word for Isle of Pines, and it is located in Seminole County. Very close to where I live, even closer to where I used to live, and these things keep happening or happened around me prior to me being there. That doesn't make any sense. You get what I'm saying?
Coincidence?
Hmm. So, as you stated, Grant Amato is our bad guy in this, and he was one of 3 kids. Sorry, I'm trying to get my camera to focus. Um, he's one of 3 sons, to a Chad and Margaret Amato. Him and his brother Cody lived at home, with their parents, and the half brother Jason was older, and I guess he wasn't really around as much. But Grant and Cody were essentially like twins. Um, they did everything the same. They went to the same college. They went through the same program to become um, anesthesiologists, and they both did like weightlifting. And I know, sorry if you're watching, I apologize. I'm trying to get my camera to focus. I don't think it's gonna happen. I think you're muted, John.
I will distract them with weird behavior while you just go on with the story. Just go.
Oh my god.
Beautiful family.
A beautiful family, seemingly perfect. Their parents were well-to-do. The dad was a pharmacist, and their mother was a senior operations manager somewhere. But they make a lot of money. So Cody and Grant are going through this anesthesiology program. Cody graduates, Grant drops out, but he's still a nurse. So he is able to go to work at a hospital, and I believe they worked at the same hospital. I could be wrong. Did they?
Oh,
Okay.
you're correct.
Um, his employment, Grant's employment at this hospital didn't last very long before the hospital started noticing that certain medications were being used up a lot more than they should have been in the patient rooms that were under Grant's supervision. So they're doing a little bit of an investigation about it. They talk to him, and he admits to essentially overdosing or um over medicating, I should say. His patients with this, I forget what the medication was, but
It was, I believe it was a painkiller of some kind. It was something scheduled, something that's gonna be tracked, something where you really can't make the meds disappear because the control for the medicine, they're gonna know who signed off on it, what the amount on the med card's supposed to be. It's just gonna be really obvious who accessed the cart last and when it disappeared. If you've ever been to the hospital, folks, every single time a nurse approaches a med card or something that dispenses that, they've got the radio frequency ID card, they've got the bit locker, they have to use a password. They'd have to put a drop of their blood in there to get the drawer to open. The control the controls on medicine is, like, actually fairly good. You have to be an idiot to think that you're gonna break into a cart and take medicine out of there and you're not gonna get caught.
Mhm.
Luckily, Grant is such a man.
Yeah, luckily, because he was giving them doses. His excuse was that he felt like they weren't as comfortable or relaxed as they should be, which I guess, but
Yeah, but doctors decide the dosages and nurses just administer it. It's not up to them. I mean, that they tell you that on like the 3rd day.
Exactly.
Also, I haven't gone to 3 days of nursing school, and I know that.
I took I took a couple of medical classes for my degree, and they talk about that a lot where it's like, um, dosaging and the procedure and what nurses are and aren't allowed to do, and it is very like you said, it's very monitored because they have a problem with people stealing or overdosing or whatever, and they need to be able to track who's doing it so they can get rid of that person. And, inevitably, they got rid of Grant. He was he was suspended and then charged with grand larceny for the medications, but the charges were dropped, and he was ultimately fired from that job. So, because of the reasons why he was fired, it was very difficult or nearly impossible for him to get another job. 'Cause that's pretty serious. At least you're not gonna get another nursing job, that's for sure.
No, you're gonna be blackballed.
Right. As you should. So
And wouldn't they also charge him? I mean, like, a possession of a scheduled drug without a prescription. I mean, you tell me, Kendra, you're the one who's, slapping people around for doing shit. Like, isn't that something you would charge him with?
I don't think he took it off premises, like, I don't think he stole the actual.
He was just over giving it to patients? Is that really I mean, it's easy for him to say once he's caught, like, "Oh, I was giving it to the patients," and it was but we know that I mean, I just don't really believe that's what he was doing with it, particularly what I know now about his personality and his addictive, traits. I'm not outright accusing him of
Sure.
being addicted to painkillers, but it's just like, he demonstrates this exact kind of behavior throughout the rest of the story where he's confronted with something wrong that he's doing, and he's somehow contrite, and he's kind of got a story, and he doesn't deny things outright, he's kind of upfront about it, and then people just sort of forgive him, and he doesn't seem to have to ever really face any real consequences for it. You know what I mean? But I mean, so it's almost like he'll fall on a sword and get people to feel bad for him. But do you really believe that, like, he really wasn't using the drugs for himself? I mean, I guess later he spends money on things that aren't drugs, so it kinda suggests he wasn't addicted to drugs, but, I mean, that I what's your take on what happened to the meds?
I didn't see anything when I was looking up this case. I didn't see anything that said that he was a user of any kind. So, I think knowing the kind of well, thinking I know the kind of person he is based off what we were researching, it's very possible that he could have been using them, but I don't I don't really know because I saw nothing else that would indicate that he was a user. Because like you said, he was spending money on other things, a lot of money on other things, and if he was a user, I'm sure he would have taken that money to buy drugs.
Now, Kendra, hold that thought. Let me ask you this. Would they actually just drop the charges because of lack of evidence, or because do you think his employer just didn't want him to they didn't I don't know if hospitals, they don't want, like, the press coverage that one of their nurses was giving too much drugs to people, or, it's not a good look for a hospital whenever something like this happens. Do you think it was just in their best interest to kinda make it go away, or do you think they cut him a break, or, why did his charges for if the propofol, I think was the drug that he took. Why would they just drop that? Do you have any idea?
Probably because, um, unless there's more information on it, I don't know, but I think it's probably because he likely didn't take any of it off the property, and if he wasn't using it, and he was just being negligent in his duties as a nurse, that's not really larceny. The intent isn't there. There's no intent to steal the actual drug. So, you'd be pretty hard pressed, unless you had evidence of him, like, taking it off property or using it for his own, recreational whatever, or even, like, selling it to somebody in the hospital, but if he was just overdosing his patients, I say overdosing, not like killing, but, over-medicating is a better term, then it's not really it's might not even be criminal unless the intent was to harm the patient, right? So I think that's why it got dropped because there was no intent.
I
No
suppose
criminal.
I suppose that makes sense. After he gets fired, he and his brother, who I threw a picture up of earlier, his brother Cody, they had this trip already planned out to go to Japan. And even though Grant was fired, uh, they decided to still go to Japan, which, that's a pretty nice family that even after your brother graduates the program that you both set out on, you fail to become an anesthesiologist or whatever they're doing, nurse anesthetist. And then, the whole shame and ignominy of this. They're still pretty nice to him. They're still gonna send him to Japan, but he comes back and doesn't fucking do anything. And, Kendra, you're 30 years old now. He was 30 years old at this time. Can you explain, like, the whole failure to launch thing to me? Like, why would adult parents who are doing fairly well for themselves, I get that their sons are going to school and it's expensive and maybe they're saving money on housing, but it's like their sons are both full ass adults at this point. Why are they living at home? Is that weird for you? Like, is that a generational thing? Am I old fashioned or
I This happened in 2019. Um, so I know that I mean, I understand that it's difficult, like, economically for a lot of people to leave home. Um, it's much worse. I don't remember 2019. It's a blur. I don't.
that's because 2020 completely destroyed your memories of what your normal life was like.
So I don't. I think it was probably a little better in 2019. If I had to take a guess, I'm sure it was. So it could just be that their family dynamic is such that they felt comfortable enough to just kind of not slum it because they were working. Well, Grant wasn't, but you know, be at home. It could also be a cultural thing. Like some people, I don't know what their background was, but there are some cultures where you don't leave your home until you're married, even if you are 30 years old. So I really don't know what that's about. Um, I know for me, when I first started working as a deputy, I was like 19, 20. And before that, I was in college and I worked at a restaurant, a barbecue restaurant. And I was living at home with my mom because it was just better for me to save money, but that didn't last long. So I'm not really sure if it could.
I don't know. I left home at 18 and it always weirds me out when and I don't I'm not someone who like can judge like family dynamics because I'm not close with my family, but it always just weirds me out when like people turn 18 and like they don't have a desire to leave home. Cause like I was itching to get out of my family as soon as I could to leave the house anyway, to leave the home and do my own thing. It was tough
Right.
to do. It was tough to do because, like, when you're 18, you don't have any money, you don't have any credit, no one wants to you can't even rent a car, let alone try to get an apartment, like, I understand that, but just there's some people that just don't even want that, and I don't understand that, but so he can't get a job because, he's, has, this black mark against him, so they fired him and, the charges were dropped, but you know that even though they're not supposed to talk about this sort of thing, every hospital in town knows that this guy is somebody that's
Oh yeah.
gonna misappropriate things, and he probably had all kinds of other problems other than this that were good reasons to fire him. So
Yeah.
his dad's telling him, "Look, son, you need a good job. You're a loser." And he's like, "You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go be a streamer on Twitch. I'm gonna play video games for money."
Yeah.
And I think in another era where they would have just laughed him out of the house, and maybe they thought that that was stupid, but it's like he went to school to become a nurse. He probably racked up all this debt to do that, and now it's like, well, now you're going into business for yourself as a Twitch person, and like, so I'm a podcaster, but I don't. This is not my full time job. I don't have any illusions that like I should give up my steady government work and just like really lean into this, and I'm gonna make a whole lot of money. Like, don't get me wrong. I hope someday that we really take off, that we put Joe Rogan out of business, and that I have many mansions. I hope for those things, but I don't think that it's just going to happen and live with my family in the meantime. But so he asked them for all this money because obviously you need his equipment set up, like right, like I've got all this stuff here that I assume you would need to play video games on Twitch with. Which by the way, I don't understand watching people play video games and somehow monetizing that. I would never pay money to watch someone else play a video game. That's just
I
me.
don't understand it, but also don't play video games, so I'm not. There must be There must be an allure 'cause there are a lot of successful people on Twitch that do that. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, no, I mean, more power to them. They're finding a way to monetize the things that they love to do in life. Like
yeah.
we should all be so lucky. Anyway, they gave him some seed money to set up this whole Twitch thing. I guess they loved him and believed in him enough that he was going to somehow become a big Twitch guy. Which I don't even know how you become that, but good for him. So Kendra, you're about his same age. If your family gave you a whole bunch of money to start up a new and innovative business that was on the cutting edge, I think you would do what anybody in his position would do, and you would spend that money on pornography instead.
I was just gonna say, I would probably spend money on porn.
Yeah.
Take
Why better your life when you can just suck money and life out of as a 30-year-old living with your parents and have no dignity and have no shame and just spend money on that and go on to websites where you can meet these cam girls or whatever they are. Which country was she from? Her name is
Australia.
Silviana Vetavlavska.
It's okay. I wanna try. I wanna try. I have it written down.
Okay.
Uh, Sylvia Ven Venceslavova. Slavova.
Oh,
Oh,
oh, that
that
is
was I
crude.
butchered that.
That was very that was filthy. Sylvia Ventus. Anyway, so what is she doing? So she's actually a successful Twitcher, and how does she do that? Well, for one thing, she's got lots of hair, which Grant doesn't have. So that's like one advantage for her. So what does Sylvie do? Sylvie goes online, and she's essentially the same thing as like a stripper. Like I don't know if she got fully nude or whatever. I can only assume she did for the amount of money she's being paid, but what Grant will do is, he finds her on the internet and, she's this someone who just poses and asks for money, and I guess that's the way the system works is that you have to buy tokens, right? And I'm sure there's tokens because she's doing this to people in different economies all over the world, and so he would do this like 4 hours a night. He would spend money to
Yes.
have her virtual company. He'd be spending $600 a night, which is like way more than I make in a day. He's just blowing his parents' money to just have this girl in Bulgaria, like, flirt with him. Like I said, it's
Yeah.
the same thing as going to a strip club, but, like, he starts to become infatuated with her. He starts to become delusional. He thinks that they actually have some kind of actual relationship. He doesn't see himself as one of her thousands of clients. He sees himself as someone who actually connects with her, which I'm sure is part of the appeal of doing it. Number one, like,
Sure.
people like listening to podcasts because, like, we engage with our audience. So it's like she's doing the same thing, except it's much more like salacious, exploitative, and sexual.
Yeah, I don't think
Like
our
it's much more like Uncuffed. It's not like True Crime Tuesday.
yeah, our audience doesn't wanna see you do that, John.
No, they don't. In fact, I have received many messages that have told me to put on more clothes and you want to know why I behave so prim and proper? It's because the cease and desist orders are keep coming from the court. Like people want me to stop being so salacious on the on the internet.
I can see that.
Yeah. Anyway, so this dumbass Grant is like he's buying into it fully, thinking that this is his girlfriend in Bulgaria. So
Yeah.
case in point, he's, not only spending this money on her, just filling up her bank account for her to just, like, do this at him, like what I'm doing right now. I wish someone would send me $600 a
I
night for me to just, like, oh, do this or whatever.
You think that's all she's doing?
Ah, I am naive enough to want to believe that. I don't know. Moving on to the next thing that will destroy that premise, he is sending her lingerie and sex toys and, various other things. So perhaps she is modeling these things, which,
So so
horrifying.
Grant is I just wanna paint the picture, like, zoom out for a second, and, um, this is a man who's living at home with his parents, who can't get a job, and has continually caused issues, which his, older brother, Jason, that I mentioned earlier, and Cody's girlfriend will say later in interviews that he would cause huge upsets in the family dynamic because he was just doing nothing, and essentially, he was stealing from his family because they were
I was
under
about
the
to get
impression.
to that. I was about to get to the stealing.
I'm sorry.
Grant started stealing.
Go on, John.
Well, he did. So, like, he's obviously gotta pay here $600 a night, which he can't afford because he ain't got a fucking job. So he took credit cards from his family. Luckily, he lives with his parents and his brother. They're all in the same house. So while they're sleeping, he goes around and texts their credit cards. And within a few months, he racks up like 200,000 dollars on this
Yes.
cam girl, which, I am sorry, but like now that I am realizing that she got like $200,000 in a couple months, I am a chump for talking about like police issues and true crime. Folks, the show's changing. We're moving away from Antarctica, true crime. Somebody super chat me right now, and I will take this off and dance
About
for
to
you
take your
because
shirt off.
I would never do that. I mean, the FCC doesn't get involved in the internet, but even they make exceptions. The federal government does have its overreach moments, and this is not one where people are going to feel sorry for me for like, if I get swatted and like and say my personal FBI agent who monitors their stuff breaks in, he's just like, "Whoa, dude! Like, you do not want to do this." Uh, you are January 6ing their eyeballs. Put that away, like so
Oh god.
he takes $200,000 of their money, which you know what? They're going to notice. You don't just disappear that amount of money.
And property too. He was stealing
Property.
guns. Yeah.
You have yeah, because how else do you get that amount of cash to keep going? It's not all gonna be lines of credit. It's everything. It's every tangible, asset that they have maxed out. So they sent him to rehabilitation, which you know what that means. They're spending even more money on his ass. There's a so
That's embarrassing.
so instead of like, you know what they could do at this point though, right? They could like file charges against him for fraud, and then they would not be on the hook for this. Like if they filed fraudulent charges saying, "Hey, I contest all of these things," and you dispute the stuff that's damaging your credit report, and if he's mortgaging their house and all this, they could just go to the bank and say, like, "Our dumbass son did this, like, Control Z this, please. Could you undo this and send our son to jail?" They would be off the hook, and they won't do this because they love their son, and this is kind of takes us to what will be our stupidest podcast, other podcast stupidest takes, but it's like, they won't have him held accountable by anyone else. They think that, like, they're gonna lay down the law with this guy and somehow be effective, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not a parent, and I don't like to give parenting advice. If your 30-year-old son lives at home and he has just spent $200,000 on essentially pornography, you have a problem that's bigger than what you can fix. Because it's not like he's 14 or 15 or 16 and he's just gone through a really terrible phase. He's 30. He's full-blown failure to launch. He's committing felony level identity theft and fraud crimes, deception. He's interstate wire fraud or international wire fraud. I guess you couldn't really call it that, but serious fucking shit. And he's putting Sylvie's kids through college, that she hasn't even birthed yet. And, they just think that they're just gonna sit him down and, send him to rehab, and it's gonna help. That's 15,000 more dollars. So, I'm actually very jaded about rehab too. What does rehab do? They take all the money that you have or the insurance that you have, which he probably didn't have insurance because he wasn't fucking employed, and Obama won't even take you back if you're 30, Um, oh, so he washes out of rehab, right? Because rehab's gonna be like, "You're not allowed to use the internet because that's kinda what your thing is," and there's probably a guy that followed him around and shot his crotch with a fire extinguisher to keep him from getting terribly horny, and unfortunately for him, he's got a full-blown, I'm gonna call it a chemical dependency problem. The chemical that he's dependent on is actually manufactured by his own brain.
Mhm.
So it's not an illicit substance that he has to procure, on the streets or something, but there's something that he gets emotionally and chemically from his brain through his interactions with this cam girl that like he's just utterly dependent on to the point where, I mean, you see this with drug addicts, right, Kendra? Like you've had a lot of interactions with people like these, but it's like they sacrifice their whole families and they're willing to commit terrible crimes in order to get the money to buy their meth, to buy their whatever it is they're dependent on. He's behaving the exact same way. He's totally addicted to this woman's attention. He's addicted to the feelings of infatuation. He's addicted to the fantasy, the delusion. Some of that's probably based on low self esteem, the fact that he is a total fucking loser, but like this is way beyond that, right? And so the rehab program uses up the money, kicks him loose, he goes home after 2 weeks, and so what else do you do? Like, what I would do is I would, like, tell the cops to take him away so that, like, I was no longer responsible for this, and he's gonna ironically, prison's gonna be the best thing for him because he can't talk to Silvie, the cam girl, while he's incarcerated for 10
Yeah.
years for what he's done. The best way to help him after you tried rehab and failed is for him to go to prison, and they won't do it.
Yeah, I
And
don't think I get the impression that they just have a very, and this is not a slight at his parents at all.
I will slight them later.
I mean, yeah, they definitely, we've talked about this before, like, victims do put themselves in scenarios and make bad decisions that make them victims, right? Sometimes I'm not saying they deserve it at all, I'm just saying that
No, you don't deserve to die, no. Sorry, spoiler alerts.
they yeah, they don't deserve to die because of their bad choices, I'm just saying that it puts them in scenarios that could have been avoided if they made better choices, and in this case, I think, like, yeah, actually holding your adult son accountable, like you said, it's not like he's some young kid that's just, like, needs guidance and they're trying to be good parents. This person has lived life, and at 30 years old, I cannot imagine if I was doing these things to my family, there's no way I wouldn't be in prison because I'm an adult that made decisions. I don't know. So,
If I had a kid, I would be framing them for shit all the time because kids get away with stuff. Like, kids do stuff and, like, they never get caught, right? So, like, I would make up shit or, like, find crimes, and I would implicate my son, so he would get the punishment that he deserves. I would not be letting him off scot-free for the shit he actually did. So, case in go ahead. I don't wanna interrupt you anymore.
no, you're that's a lie. The stuff that he's the stuff that he's doing too, it's like he's definitely, acting like an addict, and he's negatively impacting the family as a whole, and their well-being financially and probably mentally, and, um, Cody told his girlfriend at one point that he was afraid of Grant, and that he was afraid that Grant was gonna hurt everybody.
Yeah.
So, this isn't just him, like, sitting in his room like, "Oh, I have a girlfriend on the internet." Like, he's a menace, and he's
He is.
these problems for his family, and he's
And he's
running
and
them
he and
out.
he's very manipulative, right? So after they have this, like they have several interventions with him, one of which took place at a California pizza kitchen, which also just shows you how much they love him, that they're gonna take him to an excellent restaurant. Like, when my parents had my intervention with me, it was like at some kind of fucking buffet, Old Country buffet or something. It's awful.
Bob
Um,
Evans.
we're going down to the Bob Evans to intervene on your terrible behavior, John. Um, like, why does the punishment have to start now? Can it start after that? Um I didn't know how bad Bob Evans was until recently. I thought Bob Evans was potentially good, but it's not. Anyway, so they told him like, "Look, dude, you cannot do this anymore. You cannot be on the internet after a certain hour," which they should have just cut him off entirely because it's like you don't tell someone who can't drink that like you can only drink on the weekends, right? Like
Yeah.
that's not going to work. They told him he can't have contact with Sylvie anymore. This is the problem, though. He thinks that they're in love. He thinks it's an actual relationship. And Kendra, when you were 14, when you were 16 or 18 or whatever, you don't have to actually answer this question. I'm just use a disturbing model of truth. But it's like if your parents had told you not to ever talk to that boy ever again, would you have fucking listen to them? No. You're just gonna fucking sneak around more and get away with it more and like climb out of your bedroom at night and like go to the kissing bridge or whatever young girls do. I don't know. I don't even wanna know. But he just starts fucking sneaking around more and being more manipulative. So they even set out this rule for him. And Grant at one point still convinces his mom to let him use the phone to make contact with the webcam model, which obviously like she's got some kind of, work number or something that he does, and he's got to pay $3 a minute or something to call her. And
Well, we might
it's
have
asked
just identified the problem.
Yeah, and so it keeps going. They're having to get extra jobs. They're taking out mortgages on their home. Everybody's like, "Well, I don't even get to retire now because I don't want the shame to catch up to the family, and I don't want anything bad to happen to Grant because I love my boy so very much." He's fucking destroying their lives like forever. And finally, like when they found out that he was calling the webcam model again, dad says, "You know what I think? I think that it's time. I think that you're 30, and I think today's the day that you need to go. You're finally old enough at age 30 to strike it on your own and test the winds for yourself and find fortune for yourself. And stop fucking stealing from me for this fucking Bulgarian webcam model. Honestly, Chad's a good dad because he loved his son so much, but fuck, Chad, if you had kicked him out of the house when he was 18 or when he was done with college, like, you might have been able to avoid some of this stuff, or if he had to rely on himself, if he had to face the consequences of misappropriating the drugs, of fucking up at work, of failing out of the program, of not being a nurse anymore, if he had to go out there to Bob Evans and get a goddamn job, maybe he wouldn't have had time to be up until 4 in the morning talking to a Bulgarian webcam girl because he'd get evicted and he wouldn't have internet anymore. And like he's not even paying for his own cell phone. So he's like so infantilized that he can actually do these things without consequence. Like you or me, Kendra, like we're independent people. We don't have time to just be awake for 4 hours at night, spending $600 a night. Like that would destroy our lives. But because he could live at home and have them continue to feed him and pay for his cell phone, he could do whatever he wants. So I don't want to blame the victims that that end up getting killed, but like they totally infantilized him. They totally enabled him. And if they had ever once actually made him responsible for the stupid shit that he did, they might have just saved him.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Thank you. The show's now over. No, rant's over. You keep going, Kendra.
So this, as you said, he went to rehab. They sent him to rehab in December of 2018. He returned back to the house on January 5th of the following year. So January 5th, 2019. He was home for like 20 days. And this argument that you're talking about where Chad finally had enough and said it's time for you to go. That occurred on the night of January 24th. So he was, yeah, home for like basically just 20 days. Um, the following day, January 25th, Cody doesn't show up for work, and this is extremely unusual for him. He was scheduled to go in work in a surgery, and he just didn't show up. Coworkers call in a well-being check. First, they check with Jason, the older brother, because he's the emergency contact, and Jason can't get a hold of him, and calls the employer back and basically is like, "This is the situation." So, um, the hospital contacts law enforcement, and at 9:17 in the morning, deputies go to the home. They see vehicles in the driveway. They confirm that the vehicles belong to Chad, Margaret, and Cody. They call all of the phones that they have on record for these people. They cannot get in touch with anybody. All of this kind of like builds and builds into a cause for concern. So deputies decide that they're going to make entry to check on the family. Um, when they make entry, they go into the kitchen and they discover the body of Chad, who's lying on his back, shot to death on the kitchen floor. They make their way through the home and they locate Cody, who was lying in a fetal position, shot to death in the storage room. And finally, they locate Margaret, who also had been shot to death, and she was slumped over on her desk. She was at her computer doing something, and she was shot. Um, they do their search. They do a little bit more investigating, and they realize that there's one other person that lives in this residence, and they know this because they've had interactions with this person before. That person being Grant. Grant has a vehicle that's registered to him, and it's not there. So naturally, they're trying to locate and contact Grant, and it's unsuccessful. So they put out a bolo, be on the lookout for the vehicle and for him. They conduct a check, a tag check, um, and this basically it produces toll records from that day. And he was traveling on State Road 408, which is not very far from Chiliota. It goes in and out of Orlando. It runs east and west into Orlando. And he was seen 3 times between the hours of 10:51 and 1:41 on the 25th. So while they're there, he's driving back and forth on this road. They go to the area, they try to find him, they can't. So now he's, a person of interest, obviously.
Well, then, yeah, they know there's contention and within the family. I think that girlfriend you mentioned, I think it was Cody's girlfriend. Obviously, she's kind of in on the loop. She'd been communicating with Chad about everything that was going on and how things were kind of coming to a head. So she knew that things were getting bad. And as you said, Chad said something that he was getting afraid of Grant because of the way that he was acting. Um,
Yeah, the girlfriend go ahead, you were gonna say something.
I was going to describe how the murders went down because the way that he did it was pretty fucking terrible.
Okay.
So he comes over to his parents' house where he lives, and his mom, like you said, his mom was shot in the back of the head while she was on the computer. So she was obviously first to go because otherwise she wouldn't have been looking at the computer. So she's just browsing away. She's probably on Wayfair or something or Amazon, and he just comes in, and he comes in with his friend's Jericho 941 pistol that, yeah, like I said, belonged to his friend. So he lifted a gun off of his friend, which clearly implicates him in the murder because the gun belongs to him. You know, it at least muddies the water and involves his friend when he shouldn't be doing that. Just shoots his mom in the back of the head, right? Doesn't give a fuck about her or everything that she's had to suffer or put up with, or saying, you know, how she has to continue to work and not retire to take care of Grant, and not expose him to the criminal shame of basically masturbating away their retirement. And he walks in there and blasts her in the back of the head, execution style. So then he waited for Pops to show up. His dad comes in. Dad walks in the kitchen. Grant shoots him twice. Just kills his dad. He's already shot his mom. Feels nothing. No regret. No remorse. No saying, "Hey, let me stop this." Shoots his dad twice in the head. That's awful. But it's not enough, right? Like, there's still more people that live here. So he takes his dad's cell phone and texts Cody, who's had just finished working his shift as a nurse, tells him he needs to come over right away or whatever, using his dad's phone. So, like, very premeditated. He's lured him into a trap. Cody comes out of the garage, just sets foot inside the house. And then right when he comes in the door, Grant just fucking shot him, left him laying there. And then so what he does before he goes, he grabs all of their credit cards, all their financial information. I don't know why he's so fucking dumb, but this just shows you, like, he's clearly a mind of an addict, right? He's been cut off from, like, the thing that feeds his addiction, and that's why he's acting out. He goes and gets all their cards, and he immediately takes that. He tries to stage it as a murder suicide. He places a gun next to his brother's body, so he tries to blame his loving brother for shooting his parents. He puts his father's gun on his belt, but he puts it backwards, right? So, like, the guy's right-handed, and he has it backwards on his belt, so it would be like cross draw for a left-handed person. He put it on the right side of his body, but he put it on backwards so that the grip was facing the front of his body, right? So, like, he's such a fucking idiot. Like, obviously, the guy's not gonna, like, break his wrist, bending his arm down from underneath to draw a gun. So it's so fucking dumb. And then I think he left a brass casing to, like, a different gun. So, like, I don't know if it still had a round in it, or, like, if it was just an empty shell or whatever, but he just randomly, like, "Oh, here's a piece of ballistic evidence." They'll see this and they'll just say, like, "Yeah, clearly a murder-suicide. Let's not run ballistics. Let's not see if there's gunshot residue. Let's not fucking figure out that, like, Pops couldn't even draw the gun from the position he was in. Let's not even, like, consider the fact that, like, there's clearly gonna be either bullets inside the body and trajectories from that, or if they went all the way through, they're gonna be in the walls, and how none of those things match up. And just, like, there's not gonna be any details in any of their personal effects, their correspondence, that any of these 3 people had any reason to attack and kill each other. And by the way, Grant's fine. Uh, yeah, especially when Grant lives there, like, if anything, he should clearly be in the body count. And then Uh, so he takes their financial stuff and immediately starts getting in touch with Sylvie again. Like, he does not care that he just wasted his parents and his brother
Yeah.
because he needs to get off talking to this woman so much. Like, you know what? I don't have a good relationship with my family, but it's just like, you're gonna tell me that this woman is worth it. This is literally the woman, like, whatever, she's cute, she's got that glasses thing, whatever. She's not worth killing somebody over, and this woman does not love you. You are just a open cash till to her. You are nothing, and it's fucking pathetic. I was watching a documentary about this, and there was a video of him talking to her. He's like, "I kind of feel guilty every time I buy one of your videos, and would you send one to me for free? I just feel so guilty. I feel shamed or whatever." And it's just like, "Well, dude, she's not your girlfriend. She's a fucking stripper. Like, you want a lap dance for free? No, you gotta pay for that because she doesn't love you, dude." And he just killed his whole family over it, right? The family that refused to hold him accountable at any point. Anyway, I'm just mad because it's like it's so stupid to think that it's not obviously gonna be him and that he could, like, try to frame all of them for each other's murder, and it's all for this
Yeah.
dumb woman.
And the thing that kills me about stuff like this, and him in particular, because this is the case, but how did he not think that someone wouldn't try to reach out and interview him about this or ask him any questions, or, like, they like you said, they would just walk in and be like, "Oh, murder, suicide, that's it, meh, meh," and then he gets away with it. How stupid are you? Like, a
Well, the
basic knowledge of criminal event, like, very, very basic, would tell you that that's just not how it's gonna happen, but he doesn't, like you said, he definitely has the mind of an addict. He was just focusing on his next high. He'd gone for, like, I don't know how long it was in between, um, I don't know how many times he used or contacted Sylvia with his mother's cell phone from the time he got back from rehab until the time of the murders, but it's like he was just wants it's that frantic, "I just need my next high. I just need this. I need it. I don't care what I do or destroy in the meantime, including my own family's lives." So, it's and he's just this, like, spoiled little, like, little weasel of a man who
You
has
know,
everything
I
he
would
needs.
honestly I would respect him more if he was just addicted to crack because it's like they say heroin, crack, all the hard drugs, they're, like, so hard to give up. But this little wiener just thinks that some woman in Bulgaria loves him. It's just so fucking pathetic for a
Yeah.
30-year-old man to believe this.
He could just go out and find a woman, like, in real life, like, in real time in front of him that would appreciate him for who he is.
Or he could just go to a local stripper who would probably be impressed if he dropped $100 on it. I mean, at least that's savings you can't ignore, like, fuck, why does it have
Yeah.
to be a Bulgarian cam girl? Possibly because he knows that if he appears in person, he's such as a little weasel.
Yeah.
Here's a picture of Grant, by the way. Like, just here's a better picture of him, by the way. But he's just such a nothing loser guy that, like, obviously, like, I hate to, like, pour on, like, the self-image issues, but, like, no woman could love him. And when he was striking up this relationship with Sylvia, he was saying he was using more of this misappropriated funds to say that he's like this really, high-powered guy, that he has tons of money. So he's trying to fool her too, right? Like, he can't deal with the fact that he's this 30-year-old loser who failed out of his nursing career, can't get hired anywhere. He's probably feels like a failure compared to his brother. That's probably why he felt nothing blowing him away. But he's trying to impress Sylvie too, which Sylvie doesn't care as long as the money comes in. But so they
What do
know
you think
he's
she
supposed to
thinks
be
about
there.
that?
They know that it's his legal residence. They know he has a car registered to him. This is all stuff dispatchers can find out in like 60 seconds or less. So they issue a bolo for him. Be on the lookout. He's either missing, abducted, killed someplace else, or he's our man.
Right.
So they find him at a hotel in Orange County. So it's like he didn't even flee. Dumbass didn't even go anywhere. So it's like my first
Absolutely.
question to you would be as a cop, and I'm not a cop, Kendra, but it's like, so why are you staying at a hotel and not at home where your dead family is? Just curious.
Are you
Give me
asking me why?
no, not you, Kendra. I'm asking Grant. It's just very, very obvious that, like,
He
his behavior is terrible. So they take him in for questioning, and he
he
doesn't even
was
ask why he's there.
so he was at the home. He killed his family, um, during the night of the 24th. Cody ended his shift at, like, 9:15 at the hospital and came home, so he was by probably by, like, midnight-ish, the deed was done, right? So between midnight and then when he left the home at, like, at least by 10:51 the next day, because that's when they first see him on the toll roads. He was there, I'm assuming he was at the residence during that time, and he got, a hotel reservation on the 25th, but he didn't check in till, like, almost 3. So, I don't know if he was just driving around or if he was at the home and he couldn't take it anymore and he decided, "Okay, I gotta get out of here." But yeah, he didn't go very far. He went like, if you look at the map, he's only, like, 30 minutes away from his home, which to me, if you just murdered your entire family, I'd be leaving the state. I don't know why you're staying right there. It's kinda weird, but, um, a deputy locates his vehicle at a DoubleTree in Orlando on the 26th, so this is now 2 days after the murders. While they're there, conveniently, he just exits his room, so they don't even have to worry about that whole side of getting him out and everything. They talk to him, they tell him kinda why they're there, and he agrees to go in for questioning, so he voluntarily goes to the sheriff's office. Um, when he's speaking to investigators, his first initial claim is that he got into the argument with his dad about, the Bulgarian, and he gets kicked out. And his story is so dumb. He says that he, like, meets Cody on the side of the road. Like, he packed his shit, he got in his car, he drove down the road, he meets Cody, and Cody says, "Well, I'm gonna go take care of that for you," and blah, 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 and they separate, and then he never sees Cody or his family again because he just left, right? That's his first bullshit lie. And all of these he's trying to make Cody look like the person that committed this murder-suicide. Then he retracts his statement, um, and he just goes back and forth on, like, they're pressing him as to um, why when you went back to the house and you saw something was wrong, why didn't you call law enforcement or why, you know, it's not a normal reaction to just turn around back and leave. And he just kept giving them bullshit after bullshit, but he never owned up to it. And he always every lie was, well, Cody did it, basically. And the autopsy would show that, Cody the way that he was shot, it would be impossible for him to have done it to himself, so they obviously knew that Grant had done this. At one point, he says he went back to the house on the 25th, and he noticed that the road had been blocked with, law enforcement, ambulance, media, and he goes to a Panera Bread to look up the top news stories and sees that. And they're like, "Well, why didn't you go home? Your whole family's dead." And he's like, "I just didn't wanna know." Like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. He's such a little child. I think you're muted.
Damn it. Every show now I have that happening even one time. The Panera Bread aspect of it makes it just seem more contemptible, and I don't know why, because it's like, they have delicious bread bowls of soup, but it's just imagining this guy sitting there eating, like, his cheddar broccoli, Googling top news stories while he fucking just killed his family, just fucking makes me angry.
But cheddar broccoli is yum.
It is
Delicious.
tight.
It is
Tight cheddar. Tight
tight.
cheddar broccoli. Tight cheddar broccoli was my nickname in high school.
Ew. I hate that.
Sometimes I send Kendra weird memes, and she'll just respond with, "I hate that."
With a period, no emojis or anything.
I know, it's not, "I hate that, LOL." It's like, "I hate that." Like,
Oh, now I want cheddar broccoli soup. Shit is scrumptious. So anyway,
that shit is scrumptious.
so basically, they they break it down for Cody like, "Look, dude, we know like this is you did this, right? All of your bullshit excuses, they make no sense. Like we're professionals and you are a dumb idiot and this you're dumb." And they ask him if he had any remorse basically for what happened to his family. And his response was like, "Well, they blame me for everything that was going bad in their life, so I might as well get blamed for this too."
He was the reason everything was going bad.
Yeah, maybe they were blaming you because you're doing dumb shit and you're ruining everything because you are. You are the one to blame. You're the only one that's causing these problems. So
You know, we're appalled about it, Kendra, but, like, this is classic criminal thinking. This is,
I
like,
know.
the definition of criminal thinking. It's like you get yourself into these situations and you see yourself as the victim. You see yourself as totally, you know, not integral into anything that's going on. Like, I've mentioned this story before, but, like, when I worked in a prison, like, I heard a guy say once the only reason why he was in prison was because he knew a guy that tried to get himself murdered, and it's just like, that's so dissociated away from, like, you attempted to murder someone. They literally never believe that it's their fault. It's so frustrating because 'cause you'll try to explain to them like, "Dude, you did this," and then it's just like, "Well, I only did that because somebody else did." It's like you wouldn't believe it, but it's narcissism, completely unchained, and that's exactly what this guy is.
Yeah.
If he can steal credit cards, if he can, like, steal personal possessions and pawn these things and send money to this fucking cam girl and waste his family and feel nothing about it at all because it's all their fault. It's, uh, it's just the most one of the most extreme examples of criminal thinking I've ever seen, just that nothing is his fault at all. Um, so what happens to him is that, he went to Panera Bread. His brother came in during the interrogation, the one brother who remained unslain because, like,
Yeah.
he wouldn't admit to anything because that's the criminal thinking, right? It's just not his fault. The brother comes in, the brother's pleading with him like, "I need to know what happened, like, at least if I had been home, I'd probably be dead too, but at least I'd know, like, I need closure, what happened to my family, what our family loved you, and I won't love you any less, just tell me the truth." He still wouldn't fucking crack because, of course, he would have killed his other brother if it meant that he could have taken his credit cards and continued to support himself, but his other brother had launched from the house, so he wasn't part of this internal financial toxic family dynamic of protecting and enabling infantilizing and enabling Grant. So, despite the fact that he's a family annihilator, he's got an Eighth Amendment right to reasonable bond, I guess. So they set him at $750,000. He's got a public defender. I have no idea how he posted this bond. How the hell did he how could he even afford that? I would assume anyone giving him money, would go directly to Sylvie, but, of
Yeah.
course, he wouldn't be able to enjoy Sylvie from inside jail, but, so there was the conditions that he had electronic monitoring, he wasn't allowed to use the internet, uh, he didn't he remained in custody, but during the trial, he eventually gets out for a little bit, and I don't know if you wanna tell that part of it too.
You tell that because I'm not really familiar with.
Oh.
Oh,
Well, at one point during this investigation, I think at one point they had reset his bond or something. There was a time he was able to be out during some part of it. And I could be wrong on this, but all I remember is that uh, he has at some point of the trial while it's still going on, he's out and he goes and uses some Wi-Fi to immediately contact Sylvie. And he's talking with her about how they're gonna have a life together once all this jail time stuff is over with and behind them, and they're gonna be together, and it's just like, "Dude, you fucking killed 3 people premeditated. W Why do you think that you're gonna have post-jail time life with Sylvie?" I just don't get it at all. So
he's
he
totally delusional.
and when you watch the trial, because cameras were in there at one point, this is such a great move by the prosecutor, but the prosecutor has the jury in there with him, and they're like, "This is what it's all about. It's about Sylvie." And like they put up just footage of Sylvie of her like leaning over and squeezing her breasts together, and, like pulling up her nylons over her thighs, and he just like starts drooling. He just goes, right
Ew.
right in front of everybody. And so the whole jury could see him just like, trance over at the sight of Sylvie. And so even when he's on trial for his life, prison, I guess the death penalty wasn't on the table.
Yeah.
Um, even in front of these 12 people in a whole courtroom, he's completely captivated because it's feeding his addiction right there. Like the presentation of the evidence, it's almost like if he was in, if it was a drug case and, and the prosecutor walks over like, yeah, this is the brick of cocaine he brought into this country. It's the same thing as walking over and doing a line right there. right in front of the jury.
Yeah.
You know, that's how bad he was addicted and how little he cared about anybody else. Um, so I mean, it was disgusting to watch. I'm trying to think of what show that was where they had an episode about him. I wish I had that handy right now, but it was something I was just watching like last week, and it was truly disgusting to see that.
That's horrible. If you figure it out, let me know because I'll
You'll post it.
post it. Yeah.
I'll like look up my own like streaming history. You know, if it's not
Yeah.
Fargo or Reacher, it was this show. So,
Well,
um,
he was he was sentenced to 3, like you said, 3 life without parole because the death penalty was, denied by a jury, like, the I'm blanking on the term for it, but basically, they vote whether or not they could it's on the table essentially at that point.
yeah, they vote to impose it, and if it's not unanimous, it just defaults to a life sentence.
Yes, and, Cody is still in prison, so
Grant is, yeah. Cody's dead.
yes, thank you. Grant is in
Cody is still in the prison of death because you do not get paroled from that. So
That's true.
sorry, I hate to get philosophical on you. So they found him guilty in all 3 counts: first degree murder, life sentence for each. I don't know how you don't get the death penalty for first degree murder. When they asked him if he had remorse, like I said, like they've been blaming me for months for running their lives, so I might as well be blamed for this too. That was kind of the last note on him, and so I have to wonder just what is he now, right? Has it finally set in that there's no more Silvie, that there's no more internet, there's no more tokens, that there's no more masturbating till 4 in the morning, there's no more stealing credit cards, there's no more feeding your addiction. Is he, you know what, Kendra? I guess I want you to take a stand. Was it just narcissism, or was it just the addiction, or like, if you had to pick one, what is it that made him feel that way? Because if it's just narcissism, he still doesn't get it. And if it was the addiction, now that he's been broken of this, you know, now for 5 years, like, do you think he's finally figured out, like, "Dude, I wasted my family for no reason."
I think my personal take is that he probably had a little narcissistic tendency prior to, and, narcissists tend to have a addictive side of their personality, so I think it goes a little hand in hand, um, because there are addicts who don't do things like this. Not even as extreme as murder, but, like, there are addicts that do respect their families, and they don't involve their families in their own bullshit. So, to me, um I'm not an expert on addiction. I've never been addicted. I know people who are addicted to things, but, there is still some sort of level of self-accountability if you're not a complete shit person, even if you are an addict, right? So, like, just because someone's an addict doesn't mean they're automatically gonna just do things like this. So, I think that it's a little bit of both, and he probably will constantly live in some sort of delusion that he's gonna get out and see Sylvie again. I don't think he'll ever take responsibility for any of it.
It's fucking sad. So, I feel bad for that family in a sense, but I also am mad that they enabled him. I mean, if he's 30 years old and he's taking out he's using your house as collateral for a huge loan, and it just keeps going on and on and on, and he never fucking figures it out, and he's using the mom's phone even after the California pizza kitchen intervention. They just enablized him, yeah, enablized him. I'm saying it again, folks, but it's because he never had consequences, and if you love your kids, whether they're 13 or 30, they've gotta have consequences. They've gotta realize it, and eventually, it got to the point where it was too late, where the consequences meant to overcome those consequences because he could not live with them, that he killed for them. He killed to stop those consequences.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. You summed that up very well.
I always do.
Oh boy, that was heavy. That was like the emotional roller coaster
I
case.
got mad about this one. It's fun to see me getting mad again.
I'd love to see it. I'd like to see you get mad.
I know that you love to see me get mad. I didn't steal your thunder though this week, did I?
No, I don't think you could steal my thunder.
No, you're right. People do come here for Kendra. Um, I do love it when you get on a rant though, like particularly when you hate other podcasters. Just some of your best rants, when you get mad at them. I just wish I could bottle up that full auto Kendra. I think it's
Do
great.
you do you think that we could activate that switch?
I tried to when I said like, do you think it's narcissism or just addiction? I wanted you to be like, you know what, John? Fuck you. It's both. Like I really hoped you were like, don't force me into a false dilemma. Life's not mutually exclusive. I could have it both ways. Like I was really hoping you would go off on me, but it didn't happen.
Well, do you have something up your sleeve for me so that I can get mad?
All of your beliefs are a joke to me.
Okay.
I have nothing. No, because I don't like you being. I mean, I like to see you passionate. I guess is how I should have phrased it.
I thought we had a podcast stupidest takes
Oh, I'll play it. I kind of ruined it. I kind of ruined it because like I started just telling what the podcast stupidest take was. And I'm sorry I didn't pick up on the if you wanna be mad that I don't pick up on your subtleties,
I did it like
if you're
3
mad about
times
that.
just now.
Hey, Oaf, play the clip. Here, you know what I'll do to help, with the clip, even though a lot of people are just listening to this, so, like, they get no benefit from this whatsoever. I created this little thing at the bottom where if you look at the bottom of the screen, it says other podcast stupidest takes. And so now I'm gonna play the from this, podcast that, I don't like, but this is their take, and then I'll explain why I hate it. It's not that they're wrong here, it's just
Go to jail. That breaks my heart. I'm looking at pictures of this family and I'm just like, oh, right. And that's like love, like the love that he had for his son. Like that's the thing. It's like that's straight up just loving your kid unconditionally, just wanting to. And I know they were like probably shielding a lot, and it was like, but you just want to. You want to shield them from any harm, even if they're the ones doing harm. You want to shield them. I mean, we've even seen it in our own family, of course, people, and I've seen it in other people's families. Like it's family. So sad. And he was the youngest too, so I feel like that plays such a role. Like it's actually that's definitely part of it. And that's the thing, as far as everybody could tell, the Amato family was going to incredible lengths, and some people's opinions maybe even too far, of course, to shield Grant from the consequences of his actions. But at the same time, they were also trying to create and enforce boundaries. But as we know, it's impossible in a situation. Yeah, what is?
so I like how their stupidest take is essentially what I've been rambling about for 10 minutes. I don't know. Like I said, they skip past the infantilizing of him and the enabling. Like they're so impressed by how much they love him that they're ignoring the fact that he brought so much shame to their family. And it's I think these podcasters are just a little bit naive. So
I don't
they've had
think
way worse takes than this.
Yeah, I think naive is a good word because I'm not saying I don't know them and I don't know their lives, but it's such a different perspective when you deal with addicts and people like this when they aren't your family or your loved ones, right? Because you can look at it objectively. It's hard to when you are dealing with someone that you love. I understand that. So they could be coming from the perspective of a loved one who has an addict in their family or somebody who is doing these types of things. I don't think they're looking at him like an addict. But he is one. He's at least got the characteristics of one. And I hate I hate that like he's the baby. He's a 30-year-old fucking man. He's not a fucking baby. It's so gross to me. I maybe it's like a woman thing and women who are in here, please back me up on this because but there's something about like a mom and a son where the mother babies the son to the point where he becomes basically this. That is so gross to me because that love is being displaced and it's the grossest like god, why are you doing that? Why are you that is oh, maybe it's cuz I am a woman so it's like an ick, like when I see guys who are babied by their mothers at like 30 years old, it really oh, it's just bad. And it's not good for it's not good for him because that's how she treated him his whole life. There's a line. I'm not saying you shouldn't love on your kids. And little boys need nurturing and all, and I understand that, but
Yeah, but that comes to an end at age 29.
Yes. At age 29. Yes. Yes. On the eve of your 30th birthday, your mother has to like punch you in the throat and spit on you while you're on the floor and just kick you with a boot.
Full Kendra treatment. You're out of the house, son. So something that was interesting, or I should have maybe made this the stupidest podcast take, but at one point she mispronounces the word sedative as sedative. And then she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading this." I was thinking, what would you think, Kendra, if I, instead of doing this kind of like off the cuff, the way that we do things, why don't I write next week's episode of True Crime and you and I can just read it? Because that's apparently how some of the most well monetized podcasts do it. The most funniest, goodest podcasts out there were the ones with the best dynamic. They're totally fucking scripted. So why don't we?
There are a lot of most podcasts are scripted. And I understand like with true crime it's easy to because there's so many like facts and dates and little tidbits of information. Like just so you guys know, when we research stuff, like for nobody asked me, but I'm going to tell you anyway. When I research, I read, I listen, I watch whatever I'm going to do, whatever information I take in, and I absorb it, and then I rewatch it or I go read an article and I write everything as
Kendra
notes.
works hard for you. She got them granny notes.
Well, I don't want to read off this, so what I do is I think about it, I write it in my own words in a timeline, I fact check my own self, and then I think about it for a day, and then I just say what the information is, which is probably why sometimes I'm like, because I'm not. And then he went to the Panera Bread and
Ha ha, good bread. Ha.
because I want this to feel like you and I are just having a conversation and
We
everything.
are.
So
You're using the power of mental thinking.
yeah, I'm using my brain. It's weird.
And then I show up and then I'm here and then,
It's still sloshing around up there, I can hear it. Oh.
yeah. Folks, if you don't like our dynamic, why are you here? We're an hour and a half in. Well, easy there. Like, we don't want you to do that. We want your filthy views. We want your filthy clicks. Like you don't have to like us, but you do have to click, like, and subscribe on YouTube.
Basically Silvie without the money and the boobs.
And the sex, yes. Essentially Silvie, though. Folks, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit like and subscribe and send me a $600 super chat. I sure would appreciate that. I would appreciate the fuck out of that. We love you all. We'll see you back here next week for another edition of True Crime Tuesday. As always, whatever, man.
And if you give us $600, you'll get 2 hours each to talk to us.
Honestly, if you send me $600, I'll fucking call you on the phone. I don't know what it's going to be about, but I will fucking call you.
I'll bake you a lasagna and mail it to you.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to advise you to not be addicted to me because of all the things that you could be addicted to, at least Kendra,
No, don't do that.
Follow me at difficult to look at pictures. I'll be posting her personal phone number and address later so that Kendra, don't you want $600? I mean,
I'll be doing the same thing on mine at truecrime_drama on Instagram. And yeah, seriously, if you give us $600, I'll talk to you for 2 hours.
did we just whore ourselves?
Whatever.
Hey, whatever, man. Don't get yourself true